What's up YouTube, and welcome back to a little bit of a kind of throwback style tutorial where today we've got the very flat layered style approach to this scene. Now for today's design I've provided you with two different brushes. One is the stamp for the deer, it's just a brush that you can stamp on the screen, and then I've also provided the leaves brush as well, which I've configured just using a lot of the built-in Procreate options, but that brush is available as well for you to download. Both are available over on my Patreon. That's where you can grab them for completely for free, and there'll also be a link on how to install brushes into Procreate as well. It's really simple how to do it, so make sure just to check out all of the helpful information in the post over on Patreon. That is linked in the description down below of this video. And while you're over there, check it out, because that's where I post 3 exclusive tutorials every single month exclusively to my Patreon supporters, and there's a catalogue of over 150 at the time of recording. So enjoy today's design and let's get started. So once you've created your canvas, the first thing we'll do as always is go up to our actions. We will go to the canvas tab and we will turn on the drawing guide. We'll edit that drawing guide and change the grid size to 500 or a quarter of your canvas size. So just change the grid size down here and hit done. That then gives you a layout so you can lay things out accordingly to match up to my design. We're then going to go ahead and go to our brush. Our brush of choice is going to be inking in the studio pen, plus of course one additional brush for the leaves and then the stamp at the end as well. So we've got the studio pen. Now if I tap on studio pen, go to stabilization, I do have quite a lot of streamline and stabilization. It just makes the lines nice and smooth, and we're not going for anything kind of jittery. So just a little bit of sort of jitter in here is perfect. So hit done. And then we're going to go to our colors and go to the top left of the palette, and each column here is a different layer of our design. So top left here is the closest towards us, furthest is over here. That's how I typically always lay out my sort of palettes. Now size, you can have it set to like 19, but 45% for me is ideal, because I can press really lightly or I can press really firm, and I can get some nice variety in my sizes. So I'm going to go 49%. First thing we want to do is start drawing in 2 tree trunks on either side. Just really simple, just 2 tree trunks all the way down, and we're kind of creating that frame, and your tree trunk wants to go to the very edge of the screen. So you can just create 2 parallel lines, drop the color in, and then from there you can, wiggle your pen down and make it a bit wider towards the bottom if you want to, and just generally just get your little tree trunks in there first. You can also just do 1 line and then drag and drop the color in. You could probably go a lot thicker than that though. Again, always remember you want to make sure it's kind of thinner at the top, thicker towards the bottom, so you can get a little bit wider as you go down. Drag and drop the color into any gaps if you need to. Just sort of widen it up. Once you kind of got like a general kind of shaping, roughly in this kind of top quarter, we want to start basically creating like a frame essentially. Like these kind of curves would kind of illustrate that kind of general shaping that we want to kind of go for. So you want to start off pressing quite firm if you can with some pressure, and just create like some branches, and then you can always thicken them up, create like another one running up there, and then just start overlapping. Of course, always remember, as I've mentioned, the kind of the thickness wants to be thicker towards where you start, like i.e. you start here on the branch, don't you, and then you're kind of making your way all the way out. You want to kind of make sure as you get further away your pressure gets a lot lighter, so you can create those lovely lighter lines and overlap branches. This is where a tree always, in my opinion, comes together the most, because people don't overlap branches. You seem to think that they can just like, they don't need to, or it kind of, every line needs to have its own kind of runway. And that's not the case. Like, you want your lines to overlap. They look so much better. It makes a tree go from a really flat design, and look, watch me now just running in branch lines from anywhere I feel like it, to be honest with you, anywhere you want. And then just maybe I'll introduce like another one coming up here just to give me some better curve. Again, I'm looking for that kind of curving shape. I can always hold down on my eraser if I want to, maybe just sort of trim back some branches here and there if I feel like they've gone a little bit too astray. So I'll just trim these back just for a second, and then I'll do the opposite side, and then maybe we'll reinvent some again. So this time, rather than go kind of more horizontal, I might do like a really chunky branch that's a bit more vertical, like it's got a little steeper sort of shaping to it. Get in there, introduce some wobbles. Maybe again we'll introduce like another one up here though, and then branch out all over the place, let them go all the way across to one another. We're going to chuck in a load of leaves in here in a second, so we really will lose a little bit of those branches up here, and that's on purpose. We do want to kind of lose them a little bit in all of the foliage at the very top of our design. I'm going to introduce like a branch, just making its way up this way. Again, just for a little bit of framing. And then don't be afraid to drop it down to 19% and get in there and kind of just introduce some needed like little smaller ones here and there. And they can just sort of sprout out all over the place. But you want to kind of think, as I keep saying, like that kind of framing. Can we kind of introduce some bits here and there just to kind of get that kind of general kind of curve shape here. So a little something like this. And then we're going to go ahead and go to our brush. Now I've provided you a leaves brush. It's just a sort of a use of some of the built-in shapes, etc. And I just created a brush for you. Now for me, it's in my Procreate folder here, but for you it will be under imported, because when you import a singular brush, it goes into imported at the very bottom. If you've never installed brushes before, I'll leave a link as well in the description on how to do it. It's super, super easy. Now if we go in, we're going to use the leaves by Procreate. And the brush size is 14%. Now I have made it pressure sensitive, so if you start really light, you get some little leaves, press a little bit firmer, and obviously super, super firm, you can get some awesome, awesome variety in sizes. So we're going to start at 14%, and you kind of want to sort of make sure that like towards the ends, maybe the leaves are a little bit smaller, but ultimately we're just going to sort of pack in some leaves up and down here. So just run up and down your branches. That's all you need to do. This is why I said you are going to lose quite a lot of them. You know, up here, variety in sizes will look fantastic. This is why I did it, because it would just save you a lot of time having to, jump sizes. I'll add a little bit smaller here. I'll add a little bit larger here, you know. Let the brush do the work on this occasion for you. I've done all of it ahead of time. And I know sometimes I typically don't like using additional brushes for you guys, but today I felt like it was necessary. Now look at how I'm just adding in a little bit more dark tone up here, and then little tiny leaves in this kind of central area. That then gives us our little bit of a frame. We can just touch it up here and there, little few random leaves in little gaps, just again for curvature, but something like this is what we want. Let's also do exactly the same, but at the very bottom, but using the same brush, we can just create bushes. So you can just tap around at the bottom here. And again, we're kind of going to mirror this curve. So we want like a curve kind of shaping happening here. So you want to get a little bit lower towards the bottom, and then you can just keep creating a bush, go around in a circular motion. You could use like the studio pen that we used a second ago and create like a general kind of shape down here and then use the leaves, but I'm just going to go straight to the leaves. So we're going to just introduce a bush. Now I'm going to try and vary it up to the opposite side though. Like I might make this one a little bit more like rounded. I can bring the brush size down as well. Like I'll bring it down to like 9% because the pressure's getting a bit too quick and too heavy too quickly. So I'm going to create like a bush over here. Just more rounded like shape here almost. And then maybe try and just refine this side over here a little bit more till you get just a little something like this. We're very, very close to what we need. That's nice. Again, though, it's different and it's unique on either side. So you kind of want to kind of aim for that a lot of the time, because otherwise it just gets so repetitive so easily. So I'm just going to tap away, just connecting any leaves that look like they were a little bit too far away. And we've added some bushes. Now on this layer, it doesn't really matter too much, but this brush actually does have like this outline effect. We'll sort that out in a minute, should I say. Let's go ahead and create a new layer, drag it underneath, and then let's add in the next layer. So we go to our colors, top of the second column now, brush. We'll go back into the option of inking and the studio pen. So we'll find the studio pen. First thing I want to do is create like the bank of land, and that's going to kind of go a bit of a diagonal sort of lining, just sort of down and just dip into behind here. You need to go all the way off to the left hand side and all the way off to the right hand side, so you can drag the color into the bottom half of the design. Now from there, we will go ahead and create some trees again. And again, they're going to get a little bit smaller, of course, because they're a bit further away. So I'm going to start like here, and I'm going to start by like creating like a body of a tree. And I want this one to have like maybe a little bit more character to it. Maybe it's going to be like a little bit more kind of curved. So like the weight of it, or maybe it's been caught in the wind perhaps. And you can make your brush size a bit bigger if you want to. It's totally up to you and your pressure sensitivity sort of preference, to be honest with you. A little bit up like here, a little bit into there, and then I'll just kind of just add in some like kind of detail on it by just roughing up the edges. You could do that at the front as well. You don't have to keep it sort of straight up, straight down. So I'm going to get the main kind of trunk in there, and then from there I'll see if I can create a branch running out. There we go. And again, in a similar way, we're going to do exactly the same sort of principle, creating like a smaller frame, of course, like in the middle to a degree. But we are going to have gaps, sorry, like off in these edges over on the right hand side. So, and that's perfectly fine because that's what we're actually going for. It's not going to, this dark frame here is just trying to make sure that there's no like white spacing around the outside. So we'll just create multiple branches. You can't really see too much as well, so like don't stress. Look how quick and easy I'm going to now sort of revert to doing it. I'm going to just add in some branches here and there. And the branches, we do it like this kind of quick and easy as well because it's only there in case you see it. In terms of like, I've gone down to 19% now, by the way. If they're only there in case you can see them like through the gaps in the tree. So, and the leaves that we're about to add. So you kind of just create them just in case they're visible to someone. Now we are then going to go ahead and I'm going to put the brush back up to about 34%. We're going to create yet another tree, and that's going to run, I think, just a little bit left of this kind of line here of our guide. So I'm going to just run that down into like here, connect it into, of course, the ground that we just created. And then from there, once we've got your kind of tree trunk in place, keeping it super, super simple, we can then expand out from there. Now, always make sure to tag me in your finished creations when you're done. I love seeing your finished creations, whether it's on Instagram or Facebook. My Facebook group is super active at the minute. So if you want to come and share your designs with everybody else as well, there'll be links to my Facebook in the description down below, and no doubt a link to the group as well. But you can come and share your work. It doesn't need to be Joel Create tutorials. It can be any work you want to share. But if you do finish a Joel Create tutorial, it would be smashing to see it in that. So let's just go ahead and just chunk this out a little bit more towards the base. There we go. And we're kind of rolling back the years a little bit. I may have already said that in the intro, but you know, we're rolling back the years a little bit. I used to create designs like this at the very beginning of my channel. Quite often these kind of flat designs, and I haven't done them for such a long time. And truth be told, when you start creating more and more intricate detailed designs, sometimes reverting back to something that's so simple is quite tricky to do, and it like takes a lot of kind of power to kind of keep it simple. And that's a skill in its own sometimes, is to keep things really, really simple if you're going to create like minimalistic kind of art. So yeah, for me it's been a bit of a journey, but I'm trying to get back towards that a little bit today. Now once you created, of course, your frame, we're going to do two things. We're going to go down to the option of elements, and I think it's in elements. Let's actually check. Sorry, it's actually organic. We want the sword grass. And we just want to go ahead with a brush size of set to about 3%, just press with a bit of pressure just along this edge here, just to create some grass. Now ignore all the color variations, that's perfectly fine for a minute. We're just going to add in some grass there, and you want to keep your pressure pretty consistent. You just want to have like a grassy kind of verge, and you can press a bit firmer down here, like by the base of the tree, if you want to create some like larger blades or something. But that looks pretty good to me. Then we'll go ahead and go to our brush, and we'll go back into the one that I created for you today, which of course is the leaves brush. We'll bring that size down to 4%, and I'll just add in like a scattering of just a few little things down here, maybe just like to add in like detail. And this, if I zoom all the way in, you can actually now see that outline effect of the leaves. We'll rectify that in just a second. I'm not too fussed about it at the front here because it's not really a problem. But with that smaller brush size now, we can start adding in, again, leaves all over the top of our tree here, going along your branches wherever you feel is necessary. You can go beyond your branches, of course, because the leaves can go stretch a bit further potentially. Vary up your pressure as well, make sure it's nice and varied. And in general, just try and fill it in a little bit back here, just again, so for framing purposes. And I'll add in like a few little taps here and there. Couple more taps along on this branch here. This one I'm going to keep a little bit more scarce, and then as I get towards the top, I'll fill this all in now and somewhat even touch the sort of two sides together. I'll add in some more leaves on the rear, and it's really not something to overthink about, to be honest with you. Just get it in, get some color in, get some leaves in. They're only minor levels of detail at the end of the day today. A little something in here, a little couple of taps wherever you feel is applicable. That looks really nice. Now, to get rid of all those outlines and the color variations, just tap on the layer, alpha lock it so you can't paint outside of it, and then tap on it and fill it. It just fills it all in, makes it all solid now, and then turn off the alpha lock and you're good to go. Now we are then going to go ahead and add in our subject while we're here. So let's go ahead and create a new layer. Let's go to our brush. Now I've provided you again with yet another brush, and that is going to be one of a stamp that I've used many, many times. And a stamp in Procreate is something that you can just simply tap onto the screen and you'll get a image. Now it's the deer stamp, and all you do is just with the smallest brush size, just tap in the middle of the screen, grab your cursor, use uniform and scale it down in size, and we're going to make it nice and small, but it gives you like a central focal point. And I'm just going to sort of pop that a little bit sort of here. That looks pretty good to me. Scale wise, that also looks pretty good as well. I could probably bring that down just a tiny bit, just a little bit more, and then tap on my cursor when I'm done. Now we do want to make sure that that is exactly where you want it to be. Now for me, I just want to tap a few times to the right just to nudge it over to the right. And then when you're happy, pinch the 2 layers together so it's all on one layer, and that's important for later on. Now from that, create a new layer, drag it underneath, go to your colors, top of the 3rd column, brush. We can go back into the option again of our studio pen under inking. So studio pen under inking, doesn't matter what your brush size is. We just need to create a new piece of land, and that is going to roughly sort of come from the kind of halfway point up to the left. It's not a big piece of land, but it's kind of just here. As it sinks down, you can just color it in manually if you want to, and that's just another little grassy verge just before our water's edge. Now, just like before, we're going to go ahead and create some trees on here as well. So I will bring the brush size down to 19%. These want to be a little bit smaller, and they're not going to go any higher necessarily than that top quarter there. We want them kind of sitting at a maximum height of around about here, and that's with foliage as well. So you don't want to make it too much bigger than that. So I'm just going to start like here. I'm going to let my pen come down and connect it into the ground, and constantly trying to also take a look at the trees in front of that and see if I can make them a little bit, considering the weight of the tree in front, can I make sure that I make this one a little bit thinner and a little bit sort of skinnier in comparison, just to make sure that the fall off in sort of scale and detail as they get further back is considered. So I'm just making sure that this one's like maybe a bit more of a kind of junior tree almost, a little bit younger, and just branching out all over, just little wiggles and wobbles and squiggles all over will look perfectly fine, because again, when we add the green on top of it, like the foliage, you're good to go anyway. So a little something like this. Let's also add one in this little gap over here, and again, bearing in mind I want to make sure it's nice and thin. I don't want it to kind of touch both sides. I'm going to make sure that there's enough of a gap either side that it can sort of survive in this little space of our design and not have to worry about it sort of getting consumed by the trees around it. All the way up to the top, and then because this one's pretty hidden, I'm just going to leave it like that, to be honest with you. Now we'll go back to my brush and go all the way down to organic and swordgrass again, and I'll just rough up that edge yet again, so really light with my pressure. You could probably go a smidge smaller, like a 2% if you want to, and just rough up that edge again. Don't worry about the color variation, we will fix that in a second. A little bit of grass running through there too, nice. And then let's go back to our brush again, the leaves brush. So we'll go to that collection in the leaves. We'll bring the size down to now 2%. So we're making sure that the brush definitely gets smaller as, of course, we get further away. And again, we'll just scatter in some collections of leaves in here. Now I'm looking forward to like the future updates to Procreate. When they come out, I have no idea. But the different variations that you can make with brushes that will have different effects to them. So like we can make leaves not just repeat like a similar step, as far as I'm aware, similar stamp, should I say. They will be able to like be squished and change and like contort based on loads of different factors that you can implement, as far as I'm aware anyway. I haven't fully looked into it, but I do remember there being something about that. If not, it's a free idea for Procreate, that the leaves could get squished and get sort of, get distorted in certain ways to make sure that they have that natural scattering effect to them. So we've got 2 trees over there on the left hand side, lovely little space, and then we'll of course in a minute kind of just add in another tree here to kind of marry it up and balance it out. So that layer's done, and just like before, tap on it, alpha lock it, tap on it, fill it, tap on it, turn off the alpha lock. We're then going to go ahead and create a new layer, drag it underneath. We'll go to our colors, top of the 4th column now. We'll go to our brush again, inking, and we want we can go to inking, studio pen. Size doesn't really matter. The only thing we're now doing though is we're creating a piece of land that is the opposite side of like a lake almost. So roughly 1/3 of the way through this kind of bit here, at the bottom, this third row down. Pop your finger on the screen as you create a straight line across. Just use that as a guide. And then from there, you can just start to adjust like the land. So you can come in from the outside here and create like a flowy bit of land. Now we do want to make sure it's fairly kind of flat at the same time. So I'm just going to bring that all the way down. Maybe it rises up again, but goes all the way across, and you can drag and drop your color in because we do need to have space for a tree to add in here. And I don't want that necessarily to be fully straight there at the bottom. So I'm just going to add in some wiggles and wobbles along the land edge there just to sort of change it up. And then we'll bring our brush size down to like an 8% just to guarantee we're doing things nice and small. And you don't really want to go too much higher than this line here. So we're just going to draw in a very thin tree all the way down, keep it super simple. And then I'm going to put two quite close together. So I'm going to do it again like that. And then maybe I'll have like one a little bit further away over here. So they're going to be my three trees, and I'm going to just add in all my little branches. Now they're just going to be lots of little flicks, and look how quick and easy and they're not very tidy. Okay, they're not very tidy at all because we're going to cover up the majority of it anyway. It's just, again, in case there's a peek through the trees, we've got something to show. So a little something like this, then go to your brush, go back to, of course, the one I've provided to you, the leaves. We've got a smaller brush size now of 1%, and then we just tapping away, keeping the pressure very light. We're just going to make sure we go along those branches that we've created and just kind of bulk it all in to create density and make sure that, especially when these two overlap each other, that there's a good amount of density in the tree. And then, yeah, you can just sprout them outwards a little bit more here. Maybe make this one like a little bit larger just so that there's some variety in it. Consider the shape, the general shape of the tree as well. There we go. And zoom all the way out. It gets lost. You've got so much detail sort of hidden all the way back there. And then there's only one very simple layer to create after that, and that's just a mountain layer. So create a new layer, drag it underneath, get to your colors. We now want the, what's that, top of the 5th column. And then your brush again wants to be the option of inking and the studio pen. And then you're going to try and figure out where you can fit a mountain. So I can put like a peak here and probably a peak here as well. So I'll start all the way on the left hand side. I'm coming in right now from the outside, going to create like a little bit of a peak, and then maybe up into like another kind of peak like shape, and then let that kind of run out all the way to the right hand side of my canvas. Now, before you go ahead and drag your color in, just make sure you draw a line all the way through that bit of land as I am right now, and then drag and drop your color. So that way it's nicely sort of hidden at the very back there. Now let's go ahead and start introducing all the different colors and a reflection as well that we want to introduce. So let's go ahead and start at the very top. Now you can create a new layer and tap on it and clipping mask it, or you can tap on the layer and alpha lock it. It doesn't matter. The only reason I create a new layer and clip it is because I used it for safety. If I don't like the layer or I've added in too much color, I can just delete the layer, do it again. But it's also quite simple what we're going to add, so don't stress too much. You can tap on the layer and alpha lock it otherwise. But I like to create a new layer, tap on it and clipping mask it, then go to your colors. Now you'll see each color has two additional colors. We've got a purple and a green. So we're going to grab the purple in the middle of the first column because we're on the first layer. Brush wants to be set to airbrushing in the soft brush. Your size probably wants to be around about that 30% mark. And then down here, in fact, I'm going to go bigger to start with, 40%. I'm going to go left to right, really sort of kind of heavy towards the bottom and then blend out. And what the goal is to have purple in the kind of bottom third, your original color in the middle third, and then what will be the green in the top third. So you can just create some purple and blend that out. You can press quite firm and then go to your green, bottom of the same column, left to right, creating that green at the top, blending that in and blending it down so that you end up again with that lovely kind of fading effect between all the colors. Now this layer is the only exception where we're going to do this, but we're going to grab the middle, or the bottom, sorry, of the second column. Smaller brush size, probably around about 30%. And then just in the middle, very lightly go around in a circular motion to add in a little bit of extra green. And then grab the purple just beside it. And then a little bit of extra purple in the bottom here, just to brighten it up at the bottom of our design. It's just on that top layer only. Then we're going to kind of repeat as we go back down. So we're on the deer layer now. We can create a new layer, tap on it, clipping mask it, go to your colors and grab the purple again, the middle of the second column, because we are the second layer back. I think brush size around about 30% is fine. I'm just going to go left to right, and I mainly just want to add this purple kind of glow, just kind of around this edge over here and at the bottom. So like I can bring a little bit of purple around there and blend that out, maybe a little bit up the tree on that left-hand side. Again, we then change to the green at the bottom of the same column, and then at the top, circular motion kind of starting from the middle. I'm going to go 41%. I'm going to go circular motion, rounded as I go, and just introduce some lovely green. So this is just meant to be like a little bit of fun to add in some color variety in here. I've probably gone a little bit firmer there than I'd like to, but we'll see what it looks like later on. And then we go down, next layer down, create a new layer, tap on it, clip and mask it. Go to your colors, grab the purple, which is the middle of that third column, because of course we're third layer back. 30% brush size I think will be okay. In fact, it's probably too big, about 20. We've only got a very small amount of space here. I just want to introduce this purple just behind here. So a little bit again at the bottom, and then maybe a little bit of a curving to it up here at the left. Go to your colors and grab the green at the bottom of the third column. Little bit of light green towards the top of your trees. There we go, just a little bit of green, blending it out. Again, you should always have green, your original color, and then a little bit of that purple towards the bottom. We then go to our next layer back. We create a new layer in front of it, tap on it, and we clip and mask it. We go to your colors. We'll grab the purple first, middle of the fourth column. And then this one's only a small bit of land, so we just want to introduce like a little bit of purple at the bottom, left to right. And then we go to our colors. We grab the bottom of the fourth column, little bit of green just on the top of your trees almost, just a little bit. And then we've got our mountain as well. We tap on the mountain, create a new layer, tap on it, clipping mask it, go to your colors. You then want the middle of the fifth column, a little bit of purple at the bottom, left to right blend, lovely. And then again, we'll grab the bottom of the same column and a little bit on the top like so. So everything's got that lovely sort of gradient effect to it. Now we do need to go ahead and do a few things. We need to go ahead and grab our tree layer here, swipe it to the left and duplicate it. The bottom one out the two. Just go ahead and grab your cursor. You want to grab flip vertical, and then you want to drag it down, making sure you just get a bit of a reflection in there. That's perfectly fine, like so. And if you tap on your cursor when you're done, you can go to your layer, tap on it, and just bring its opacity down. And I think you could bring that down to something around about, say, 50%, like so. It's just meant to be a subtle reflection. And then we'll go ahead and grab the mountain, swipe that to the left and duplicate it. And then the bottom one out the two, grab your cursor, flip it vertically, drag it down again. And you don't want a full reflection of it, just a little something like that. And then tap on your cursor when you're done. But you do want to tap on it and bring its opacity probably down as well, down to something really subtle like a 35%. Just something nice and simple. Now we do have some background colors to create, and that's where we'll get to the end of our tutorial. So we'll create a new layer, we'll drag it all the way to the very bottom. So we'll hold down on the layer, drag it all the way to the bottom. We want to first of all then change our background color to the top of this column here. So the top of the sixth column, hit done. And then on this layer here, very similar to what we've done on every layer, we're just going to go to our colors. We've got two colors to go with it. So we've got a little bit of purple, so we can grab the purple. We're going to go with the soft airbrush around about 25%. And to be honest with you, around about 27%, I'm going to go left to right in the water here. And then just a little bit of a blend out behind our mountains. That's it. I'm then going to go to my colors and grab the green at the bottom of the same column. I'll go a bit bigger because we've got an empty full layer, and I'm going to just go left to right up here. As long as I can see that kind of color just start to drift into the background a little bit, then we're good to go. Like as in, you can just see a little bit of green just making its way down at the top of our design. Now I am then going to go to my colors though and grab the top of the sixth column. And for me, I'm just going to go ahead and make sure with a 20% brush size, I can just go through the middle here and introduce the correct color back in. So like left to right. And then I'm going to go to my colors and grab white, top of the seventh column, and then really, really lightly, just in behind your mountain more so, just add in a little bit of white, just so that you've got like a white kind of lighter focal point just in the center of your design. It might be a little bit subtle to see on camera, but hopefully you can. Now the next step is just to add in a simple effect that I really like to do. If you go to the top of your layers, you can create a new layer, then tap away, 3 fingers down and go to copy all, and then swipe down with 3 fingers again and go to paste. You'll have pasted in your entire design on one layer. Now, if you change your blend mode from normal to the option of lighten, ignore the effects. You can see if I go normal to lighten, nothing changes. And then if we move it across out the way, we then go to our adjustments, we go to gauge and blur. This is where you can add like a really cool glowy effect. So because the layer is set to lighten, if you swipe from left to right, you can start to add in, look at how glowy this has all got now at the top. It's kind of got that magical misty look to it. Now, anything up to, I think 25% looks okay. That still looks extremely kind of blurry and blown out. Now, you don't need to do this. You can leave it completely sharp, or you can have a subtle bit of glow in there, like a 4 or 5%. It does look very good with a 4 or 5, to be honest with you, but it's totally up to you what you like the look of. I always want to give you options so that you can do whatever you like. Now, if you tap on your adjustments when you're done, just move it across so you can get your layers back in. And just turn it on and off and see the difference. See if you like it, see if you don't like it. I think it looks really nice. I love the green tones at the top here. We've got some softer leaves at the bottom as well. And then we'll go up to our gallery, our actions. We'll turn off our drawing guide. We'll pinch with 2 fingers. We'll go full screen with 4, and we end up with today's finished design. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. It's a little bit of a throwback, as I said. Make sure to tag me in your finished creations wherever you decide to share them, again, like Instagram and Facebook. And another thing just to check out is my Patreon, because that's where I post 3 exclusive tutorials every single month, and my catalogue now sits at over 150 Patreon exclusive Procreate tutorials. So check that out using the link in the description down below. And if you enjoyed this tutorial here on YouTube though, you'll love this one on the screen now. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.